Hello everybody, I'm Jason and welcome to my comic book reviews. This week I've got 12 books to review. It breaks down as 1 from IDW, 2 from Image, 3 from Marvel Comics and a whopping 6 comics from DC Comics. So without further ado, let's get into those reviews. So first up this week we have a book from DC Comics to review. It is Action Comics issue number 30, and I've really been enjoying Greg Pak's run on this book, and I think DC as a whole, I think the writers seem to have got together and have agreed this is how Superman should be, and they're pretty much consistent now how they write the character of Superman. This issue serves not only as kind of conclusion to the initial story arc that Greg Pak has been running, but also as a prelude to the next big story that's coming up. Superman goes after this villain Harrow, who's behind Ghost Soldier, and she wants to take Superman out because she sees him as being the most powerful and the weakest. That he's got all these superpowers that make him the most powerful, but then he hasn't got the will to kind of take action like he needs to sometimes, to take out villains, to stop them to keep coming back. And so she sees Superman as a liability, and so she kind of wants to remove him. I really liked Harrow as a character. I think sometimes the best villains are the ones who have that kind of little bit of truth in what they're saying, and it makes you a bit uncomfortable. But yeah, they've got a point. Maybe not they're expressing it in the best way, but they've got a point. And that's the thing with Harrow. You know, she's totally got a point about Superman here. And I thought it was a great bit of foreshadowing with this story leading into Doomed, which looks like it's going to be a story involving Doomsday. He's that type of villain that Superman can't bargain with, can't save, that he's just going to keep coming and keep destroying, so you need to take him down permanently. And I like that kind of foreshadowing in this story, and the whole of that first arc has really been about Superman's inaction to do sometimes what needs to be done, and that while it's a great trait of his to always look for the good, sometimes that can be a weakness. So I like that a lot. The book, it had nothing to do with the solicit. The solicit was totally, I don't know what book they were talking about in the solicit, but nothing that the solicit mentions happens in here. It tries to tie in with Superman Wonder Woman, but it gets a bit confusing because it mentions events we've not seen yet then says the story continues in the next issue of Superman Wonder Woman, but again we've not seen some of the things they've mentioned from that book in here, so it was a bit confusing how all that fits together. Sadly, this will be the last issue I get of this book. While I've enjoyed Greg Pak's writing, and I'm really grown to like Aaron Kuder's art, and I like lately how the structure of the face seems to be more in tone with the pre-New 52 Superman, and that's a good thing. But I'm going to drop this book because it's going to tie in with this big story called Doomed, and the last couple of stories I've kind of bought been Forever Evil Blight. I remember Hell on Earth, that was another Superman one, and Battle of the Atom, that was a Marvel one. I picked up all the books to those stories, and I just found very disappointed when I got to the end of it, and I ended up dropping all the books that I was buying. So I thought, you know what, I'll beat them to the punch this time. I'm going to drop this and Superman Wonder Woman because I don't really want to get the Doomed story arc. I may pick Superman Wonder Woman up again when this story finishes, and I'm definitely going to be picking up the Superman book from Jeff Johns that comes out in June. But yeah, for a couple of months this will be my Superman fix done. But this book, there were some good points to this, and I'll give Superman Action Comics issue number 30 3 stars out of 5. So next up, sticking with DC, we have Aquaman and the Others, issue number 1. The Others are a group of heroes that Aquaman kind of worked with before he was in the Justice League. It was at a point of Aquaman's life where he'd kind of hated humanity, that he'd been rejected after coming out as Aquaman, and he kind of refound his heroic kind of side with them. They each have Antillean artifacts that help give them each of them superpowers. When we originally met them in the second arc of Jeff Johns' Aquaman, they came together because somebody was hunting, and it turned out to be Black Manta. He was hunting them down, taking their artifacts to use, because he wanted to get revenge on Aquaman for blaming Aquaman for his father's death. So that was how they were introduced. This issue kind of kicks off with them, with each of their artifacts not working properly, and them being hunted by someone who wants those artifacts. And you kind of at first question, is there a connection? And we get that later on, but I just felt I don't think we needed the two sides to the story. They could have just come together saying, oh, our artifacts have stopped working, what's going down? You know, is there a problem and stuff? So I think that would have been a better way to kind of bring them together than this way of people wanting to take the artifacts away from them, because we've seen that story before. So it felt like a bit like, yeah, we've seen that story. The art in this book I liked. I really liked. It's Lan Medina who does the art. Was good. The story, I particularly liked the interaction between the characters. I thought that was really good. And I thought they did a decent enough job of introducing each of them. Although, because their artifacts didn't work, we didn't get to see none of their powers. So that was a bit of a bummer. The last 2 pages of this I really didn't like, as it's more set up Future's End, which is the other weekly that DC are going to be doing, and Jan Jurgens, who writes this book, is also a writer on that book. And I was a bit disappointed because I'm not getting that book, but it seems like this book's going to be tied to that book, because one of the characters who used to be one of the others but was killed, there's a link between her and this whole Future's End story, so it looks like it's going to tie this one in, which made me have a bit of a negative feel, because I'm not picking that book up, and I don't really want anything that's going to tie into it, because I'm getting Batman Eternal, and I can't afford to pick up 2 weeklies from DC. You know, if you've got both weeklies, that's like 8 extra books you'd be adding. If you had a 5 Wednesday month, that's 10 extra books a month you'd be adding. I can't afford to do that. It's going to take me a lot to get the Batman one without getting the other. So yeah, so that left a bit of a negative taste. I think if you enjoy Aquaman, you'll enjoy the book. The story in the whole was good. I think the last 2 pages did hurt the book for me, and how I felt about the book walking away from it. At the moment, I would say it's very unlikely that I'll pick up issue 2, but never say never. And I'd give Aquaman and the others issue number 1 3 stars out of 5. Well, next up we have a book from IDW Publishing. It is Rogue Trooper issue number 2. I enjoyed issue number 1, but it was kind of, and I found it set things up nice. But it was one of those books I liked, but I didn't love. But it set enough stuff up that it intrigued me to pick up the next issue. This issue I really enjoyed. I'm liking the main character, Rogue Trooper, or Blue, whichever you want to call him. I really like him, and I think there's kind of a tragedy about him, as well as him being very heroic. There's also a kind of tragedy to him, as well as we learn more of his story. Yeah, it's really tragic tale. We look like this person that's helping him. We get kind of a hint of who that person may be. The bulk of the issue, he goes to these barracks where Breaker belongs to. Finds out Breaker, that's not the guy's name, that everybody calls him Virgin because he's a new soldier, so they all call him Virgin. And he kind of, the guy in charge there says, I should keep you here and hand you over. But like, because out on the front lines there's different rules to what you would have back at base, because out here it's just who helps you and who saves your men. So and I really like the vibe of the book. It feels very 2000 AD. One of the problems I was concerned with was that with it being written by somebody who's not associated with 2000 AD, that we were going to get something that doesn't, but it does. It still feels very much of 2000 AD, and I think that's what makes the book so good. I've never read any Rogue Trooper, but it feels like this would be very loyal to the character, and I'm definitely interested in reading the original stuff and seeing how it compares. The whole story as a whole I thought was fast moving, it worked well. My only gripe would be for the latter half of the book. Suddenly we had these like dialogue boxes pop up where the whole book has been just conversation between the characters, and that's how everything's kind of got explained. But then for that last little bit, we suddenly get these internal monologue kind of boxes, kind of talking about about Rogue Trooper and how he's feeling and stuff. And I just found that it felt a bit strange the way it just suddenly appeared, and it hadn't been through the rest of the book. But that's a minor nitpick. Other than that, I enjoyed the book. It's great to see Ponticelli do some art again, because I really loved Frankenstein and Agent of Shade back in the early days of the New 52. And I hadn't seen Ponticelli on anything since that book finished, so I'm glad to see him he's still around. And I'm definitely going to be picking up issue 3 of Rogue Trooper, as so far, yeah, I'm enjoying it. And I did Rogue Trooper issue number 2, 4 stars out of 5. So we jump back over to DC Comics now as I review Green Lantern issue number 30. The main thing about this book, we got a new artist on this book, and boy did I love their art. Martin Crocolo, and on the colours we have Tony Avina, and we have two artists, Tony Avina and Alex Sinclair. But they all do a really good job on this book. It looks really nice. It's different, but different in a good way. I really like the art in this. I did not like the cover. That cover is just terrible. Green Lantern just looks all wrong in that cover. I don't know what's going on there. But it doesn't illustrate the art inside, which is really good. The story itself is also really good. These aliens that they encounter in this issue, I think it's the Kund they call them. Because I think the Durlans are the shapeshifter ones, so I think it's the Kund they meet in here, and they're very much kind of like a warrior race, very much in the vein of the Klingons from Star Trek, and I really like that because I love the Klingons. I think they're some of the best aliens ever created. And so like this issue, you kind of like they, and as well as Hal Jordan on the space station, and the people who control the space station are like, yeah, we're neutral. So like, either of you start trouble, we're gonna side with the other ones. End up, you know. But to settle your dispute, you know, you gotta fight. So Hal Jordan has to fight like the top dog of these aliens. And there's a really great scene before they fight where they're in the bar drinking, which I really liked as well. As we get a little bit more into these characters, and instead of just being this muscle, they actually become fully rounded characters and a fully rounded culture. And so then when we have the fight at the end and everything goes down, it's really gripping and it's really good. Robert Venditti is doing a great job of this. I'm really enjoying Green Lantern at the moment. And I know initially I was very disappointed when he started on the book. But it was like he laid that groundwork out, and now he's building on it, and it's just been so brilliant. I'm really enjoying it, and it's something to keep in mind when he starts work on The Flash, that, you know, yeah, initially it might not, you know, grab you immediately, but let him lay out that groundwork, and then 6 issues on. And it's a difficult time for writers to be able to do stuff like that, because there are so many books out there vying for your attention, that if you have a book and say for 2 or 3 issues it isn't doing it for you, it's very easy to just lose patience with it and cut that book. And sometimes it's more rewarding but more difficult to stay with a book long term and get rewarded, because so often you don't get that. If a book's not good, it's not going to get better. And then other times, like with Green Lantern and like with Green Arrow, the book radically improves. So yeah, but yeah, really enjoyed this issue. If you're a Green Lantern fan, definitely pick this one up. It was a really enjoyable issue, and I give Green Lantern issue number 30 5 stars out of 5. So next up, I review our first Marvel book of the week as we review Captain America issue number 19. This issue just was another really great issue. I feel the last couple, Remender's really come back into his own with this book, and they've been great. The art in this by Nick Klein and colours by Dean White are fantastic. I'm really enjoying their work on this, and Nick Klein draws some fantastic action sequences. I'm also really liking the character of the Iron Nail. As I mentioned with Harrow out of Action Comics, the Iron Nail is similar in that he speaks enough truth that he's uncomfortable, because you think, well, yeah, he's got a point, but not all of his points are right, and his way of dealing with those things is not right. Violence only ever gets you more problems. It never solves anything in the long run. And I think that's not just true for fiction, but it's true for real life as well. But I'm still really liking the Iron Nail character. I'm not completely convinced on Dr. Mindbubble yet, but I'm getting there. He's still a bit of a balmy creation, but his powers are like, I'm like, how can anyone fight that? So I'm really interested to see, because at some point they've got to kind of turn around and find a way to fight him. This issue, it's just all Captain America being badass. Iron Nail using this like secret weapon of shields to take out all of these helicarriers. So Cap has just got to like stop Iron Nail, and that's what this whole issue is. And we get some nice reveals about the Iron Nail as well. I'm enjoying this book. It's a lot of fun. I like the tone. There's enough like kind of like political stuff to kind of make you think, but not to kind of make the book too heavy. It's still a lot of fun, and I'd give Captain America issue number 19 5 stars out of 5. So another week and another new Image number one. This week it's The Field, issue number one. It's a 4-part mini-series, and really it was the hook of this story that kind of made me pick up this book and give it a whirl. Basically it's about a guy, our main protagonist, who we don't even have a name for, but he wakes up in a field in just his underwear, as you do, and his only link to the world is a mobile phone. He has no memory of who he is or how he got there or why he's in his underpants. All he knows nothing. All he knows is nothing, basically. And this phone will keep giving. He can't unlock the phone, but it keeps giving him texts warning him of danger. Of course, he ignores the warnings, and he pretty finds himself in a bad situation where he meets this guy, this Bible seller called Christian, who is a pretty twisted kind of dude, as you learn as the book goes on. I really enjoyed this book. It really hooked me, and I'm really excited to see what's happening next. The story is just insane, it's weird, it's wonderful, all at the same time, but it just really hooks you, and the mystery of who this guy is, who's on the phone, how did this Christian know he'd be in the field, and who is this Christian, and more about the history, and then there's like what happens at the end. So there's a lot of questions this book throws up, and I'm hoping they're going to be answered in the fullness of time, but it's going to be an interesting ride learning them, and this book was just a really great start for a series, as it really hooked me, and I'm really enjoying this. I'm definitely going to get the next issue, and I give The Field, issue number one, 5 stars out of 5. Next, it's back over to DC Comics with Swamp Thing, issue number 30. This was awesome. I really enjoyed this book. Last issue, of course, we met this character called the Serene, and they were able to swap Swamp Thing out of his body into one of their bodies, and then they did a run-up. And so this issue kind of picks up where that left off. It's really good though, because I was kind of thinking the way this is going to go is at first he's going to be really happy, he's human again, he can do all those things that he couldn't do before and live his life again and not have the responsibility of the green. And then it will kind of dawn on him how dangerous this could be in somebody else's hands, and then he'll come back. Right, so that's the way I was thinking it was going. But no, Charles Soule, he's just so much better than me, because he just comes up with something so totally more awesome that pushes the story in different directions. We've got the things that are going on with Lady Weeds and Wolf, who are two fantastic characters that is introduced. We've got the Serene, as we get some revelations about them, which are really awesome. And then the end of the book, oh my god, I cannot wait till next issue, because I really want to see what's going to happen. But yeah, Charles Soule has just done a marvellous job on this book. Like many, I dropped this when Snyder left, because I felt that was just the perfect end. Plus, you know, I couldn't imagine this guy, I don't know, Charles Soule is going to take over from Scott Snyder. But Charles Soule's done a magnificent job, and I'm so pleased I jumped back on this book. And anyone who jumped off, I would really recommend you give this a go, whether you pick up single issues or the trades, because Charles Soule's has done a brilliant job. He's introduced all these other characters. I don't know if they've got history in Swamp Thing or if they're all new characters, but I really like all of these people, like the Serene, like, you know, Lady Weeds and Wolf, all these really interesting characters. Plus this issue we get a cameo from Vandal Savage. How can you not love a book when you get a cameo from Vandal Savage? I don't know. But yeah, this was just awesome. Really enjoying the book, and I would give Swamp Thing, issue number 30, 5 stars out of 5. So next up, sticking with Charles Soule but moving over to Marvel Comics, we have She-Hulk, issue number 3. This book's a bit of a funny book. It's one of those books that I look at on my pull list and I think, yeah, I want to make way for other books. This is a book I could cut. And then the next issue comes out and I read it and I just end up totally enjoying the book again, and I'm like, well, why would I drop it? But I seem to repeat that cycle every time round. But again, this was just a really enjoyable issue. It doesn't blow you away, kind of the way that Swamp Thing does, but it's just so enjoyable, and it's like a big slice of cake. How can anyone not like a big slice of cake? And that's what this book is like. The story this issue centers around Christoph Bernard, the son of Victor Von Doom, who doesn't want to inherit his father's title and rule the country, because he knows Doom's so controlling he would never let nobody kind of do things differently. So he wants asylum in America, but he's been here for a year. So She-Hulk needs to get him to the court quickly, and so they're trying to get to the court, but all these Doombots are trying to stop him from getting asylum. And it just leads to this great romp with some great twists. But like it's Marvel are really great at doing books like this, where you have all this fun in the book, but there's a dark undercurrent. Because the dark undercurrent is like Kristoff, and he doesn't want to go back to Latveria, and Doom doesn't want to let him stay in America. So you've got this seriousness there, but it's presented in this totally fun way that you just really enjoy. I really enjoyed this book. It was like I've said, it was a lot of fun. The art is growing on me. I still don't like how he draws She-Hulk, but yeah, Pulido's art is growing on me. And the writing from this book is just brilliant. You know, who would believe the guy who writes Swamp Thing writes this book? They're just totally tonally so different, and it shows you the versatility and the skill of the writer. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where this book's going to go. But the way it ended, She-Hulk ain't going to leave it there, so that's going to be good. And I give She-Hulk issue number 3 5 stars out of 5. So next up we have Black Widow issue number 5, and this is the first issue I've bought as it's come out since I jumped onto this book. It was Hulk's big toe that gave me that final push to get this book. I loved his review of issue 4. I'd already looked at the book in my comic shop and I liked the art, but the $3.99 price tag put me off trying it. But then hearing Hulk's big toe talk about it, it just made me think, yeah, I'm going to get this book. Managed to find the first 4 issues. I've enjoyed it so far, so I picked up this one, hoping for more of the same, and what I got was more of the same. I'm really liking how Nathan Edmondson is writing this book. I think it was Corey Snyder in his review on Comic Vine, where he wrote that, like, if you took the central character out and put a new character in there, it doesn't feel or look like a superhero story, and the only thing that makes it a superhero story is that it's got Black Widow in it. It's a totally different kind of genre, and I think that's something that's exciting that Marvel and DC are doing at the moment, is they've experimented with different genres and putting superheroes into those genres, and that's really provided some really new and interesting comics. This is essentially an espionage story, which is brilliant. The characters that they're bringing to the book, Moloch is a really great character, or the Hammer of God as he likes to be called. He's a really great character. I was sad to see what happens to him here, but you knew there was only so many times him and Black Widow could go up against each other before what happened. So it made sense, though. I just really liked his character and would have liked to have gotten knowing him a bit more. This issue, I really like all through it, the internal monologue from Black Widow. I think it really brings us closer to that character and makes her a much more interesting and sympathetic character. The art, as always, is beautiful, and I'm just really enjoying the book. And every issue, I'm just looking forward to. And yeah, this is definitely staying on my ball. Black Widow issue number 5 gets 5 stars out of 5. So next up we have Black Science issue number 5 from Image Comics. I enjoyed this book again. It's just really well written. The art and the colours again work well together to give each world they are in an alien quality about it, or an alien feel. This issue we had, last issue ended of course with that mysterious character kind of tracking our main characters. We find out who that is this issue, and I love the reveal of who it is. And it just brings up loads of questions, and I look forward to seeing them in the future, because it seems like there will be a reoccurring character at different points. I also really liked the way that these characters coming into it also pushed the story forward and kind of revealed what's happened. And now we're dealing with the aftermath of that, so that's super cool. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. My slight kind of worry is we visit all these marvelous worlds, but we never get to learn much about them, and it's almost like they're superfluous to the story. The main bulk of the story is the drama amongst our main characters, and I'm like, a lot seems to have come to a head, so it's going to be interesting in the future, you know, how the story is going to keep developing, because it seems a lot is coming to the head here, and things can't go back to being the same after this. So it's really going to be interesting in the next few issues what's going to happen to the story. But personally, I would like to see more of the worlds, but I'm still really enjoying it. So at the moment, it's not a major problem, but I do think it's a wasted opportunity. But anywho, this remains a really great book, and I give Black Science issue number 5 5 stars out of 5. So, our penultimate book for me to review this week is from DC Comics. It is Detective Comics, issue number 30. I've got to say, I just really love that cover. If ever there was a doubt in my mind to pick that book, that cover erased all doubt. This, of course, is the debut of the new creative team of Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato. I really loved their run on Flash, so I was really excited to see what they were going to do with the Batman. And this issue is very much, they're not dealing with supervillains, it's very much Batman dealing with street crime and drug dealers and stuff, which I quite like because it feels like we don't get to see enough of that, and that not everything in Gotham is going to be your big supervillains. So I like that, and there's this new crime guy who looks like he's going to gear up to be a big nemesis for Batman in this book. As always, love the art from Manapul, and I like the colours here from Buccellato as well. Because while they're similar in tone to how they've coloured like the Flash book, but they are subtly darker. The book is definitely darker in colour tone than the Flash was. The Flash was a lot of a brighter book, while the colour palette they use is still a kind of a soft palette, but it's a kind of a dark soft palette, if that makes any sense. So I did like that subtle thing. I loved how they drew Batman. The introduction to the new characters in here are really interesting, and I'm really curious to see where the story's going. I thought this was a really good start. I wouldn't say it was great. There's nothing I can kind of point to that like they did wrong, but the book, I just felt it was good but not great. But I feel that they're going to build on this, and I think it's going to get great. But yeah, I enjoyed their first issue on the book, and I'd give Batman Detective Comics issue number 30 5 stars out of 5. So my final book of the week, and it is Green Arrow issue number 30. If I was doing a pick of the week, this would most definitely be my pick of the week. I'm just loving Green Arrow. I'm so pleased. One of my favourite characters has such an awesome book out at the moment. This book is just brilliant. The lesson this book gives you, and this is a lesson for life, not just for comic books, but it's particularly true about TV shows and comic books. Never tell someone that you love, but you're upset with them, that you hate them and you wish they were dead, because very often that can happen, and then it's too late to take it back because it's happened. You know, it's that old adage of be careful what you wish for, and that's certainly true for Ollie here. There's a fantastic twist of how they get out of what happened at the end of last issue. I liked that. We've got like the Outsiders War. This issue felt like the Outsiders War, as the different clans are battling each other now, and that was awesome. And then of course you've got the gut-wrenching kind of conclusion to the book, but at the same time you've still got these things that are going on in Seattle, which I'm really interested to see where they're going to go, so that's really cool as well. All in all, this book is just a tour de force of awesomeness. Jeff Lemire done a fantastic job writing the book, turning it around. Sorrentino with the art gives the book a different feel to anything else DC are doing. I'm just really loving the book, and I can't say enough good things about it. And yeah, definitely Green Arrow issue number 30 gets 5 stars out of 5. Well, that brings you to the end of my video. Sorry it was so long, but unfortunately when you're reviewing that many books, it's a bit unavoidable for it to be that long sometimes. I know I do waffle a bit sometimes, and I try and keep on task, but yeah, even if keeping on task, it's still difficult to keep a video as short as I'd like to keep it, while saying all the things I want to say about the books. I also want to apologise for no haul video last week. It was I was meant to do one, but like on the day I was working, and just time ran away with me, and I just never had opportunity to get one done. I've got work this week as well. I've got a night shift on Wednesday, so there'll be no haul video this week, but hopefully, because I've only got 6 or 7 books this week. It's 7 if I pick up Nightcrawler. I am tempted to pick up Nightcrawler, one of my favourite X-Men, so I'm tempted. So if I give in to temptation, it'll be 7. If I resist temptation, it'll be 6. So because I've got less books and I've got a night shift, so I'll be taking my books with me to work, so hopefully, you know, it's quiet, I'll get time to read my books, and so hopefully the reviews should be up earlier, so probably Thursday or Friday expect my review video up. So you know, there is that. So yeah, there'll be no haul video, but you should get a lot earlier review video. I'm also hoping beginning of the week that I'll get time to do the reviews on the next 2 Marvel Ultimate graphic novels. I've read them. You've got Civil War, and we've got Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars Part 2. I've read both of those books, and I know what I want to say. It's just recording the video, and hopefully I'll get that done around about Tuesday. Monday's definitely a no, but hopefully, yeah, Tuesday we'll get that done. So yeah, I'll wrap this up, let you all get back to your comics. Hope you all have a great week. This has been my comic book reviews. I've been Jason. Bye for now.